This epic space adventure follows a group of astronauts who travel through a wormhole in search of a new habitable planet as Earth faces a global crisis. A group of elderly individuals are being interviewed about their experiences living in a harsh environment characterized by crop failure and constant dust, reminiscent of the Great Depression of the 1930s. The scene transitions to introduce Joe Cooper, played by Matthew McConaughey, a farmer and widower residing in a dilapidated farmhouse that presumably belonged to his father-in-law. Despite being a college-educated former NASA test pilot and engineer, Joe was compelled to abandon his previous occupation and take up farming. The region they live in is eastern Colorado during the 2060s, where more than half of the global population has perished due to famine. Joe's family consists of his 65-year-old father-in-law, Donald, portrayed by John Lithgow, his 15-year-old son Tom, played by Timothée Chalamet, and his 10-year-old daughter Murph, portrayed by Mackenzie. Donald, born near the end of the 20th or early in the 21st century, nostalgically recalls a time when technology rapidly evolved and new inventions constantly emerged. He is a practical man responsible for household tasks and shares a strong bond with Joe. Tom, Joe's son, is an average intelligence boy who has already been ruled out as a potential farmer by the school administration, as a college education is now only available to a privileged few. On the other hand, Murph, Joe's highly intelligent and spirited daughter, shares his passion for space and science. She suspects her room is haunted due to books falling off shelves and a model lunar ship being knocked over. The Cooper family leads a modest life but has a rare opportunity to attend a local baseball game at a field similar to those used by Little League teams today. Suddenly, a dust cloud approaches, reminding them of the harsh reality of their world and abruptly ending the game. As they return to the farmhouse during the dust storm, they discover that Murph's bedroom window was left open, causing the dust to settle in neat lines on the floor. Intrigued, Cooper spends the entire night studying the lines, which he believes to be binary code and coordinates pointing to a place he feels compelled to find. Equipped with a map, he embarks on a journey to the Rockies, unaware that his daughter has secretly stowed away in the truck to accompany him. Upon reaching his destination, a fenced-off gated area, Cooper is unexpectedly apprehended and rendered unconscious by a peculiar-looking robot named Tars. Cooper soon learns that he has stumbled upon the world's best-kept secret, a hidden bunker, where he reunites with his former NASA boss, Dr. John Brand, and Dr. Brand's daughter, Amelia Brand. The compound Cooper found is the remnants of NASA, operating covertly after losing government funding due to resource scarcity. They inform Cooper about an upcoming space mission through a wormhole near Saturn, leading to 3 potentially habitable planets, 2 of which orbit a supermassive black hole named Gargantua. Presently, NASA lacks a qualified pilot for the spacecraft, and they request Cooper's participation. The mission has 2 primary objectives. Plan A involves launching the centrifuge into orbit as a space station to rescue a significant number of people. Plan B aims to colonize the most habitable of the 3 planets using frozen embryos to ensure the survival of the human species. He urges Cooper to pilot the spacecraft and explore the unknown, as the fate of his family and the rest of the world hangs in the balance. Though hesitant due to his limited space experience, Cooper is reassured by Dr. Brand, who reveals that the 12 astronauts selected for the mission had no prior experience outside of simulators. The following day, Cooper and Murph return to the farmhouse, but Murph is deeply upset with her father for choosing to embark on the mission. That evening, Cooper and Donald sit on the porch, sharing beers and discussing the futility of staying in their current conditions. The next morning, Cooper tries his best to comfort Murph, who is sobbing uncontrollably. He promises to return to her, suggesting that they may even be the same age when he comes back, and gives her a wristwatch to compare time. Despite Murph's pleas, Cooper remains resolute, and even when another book falls off the shelf, he disregards it. Cooper says his goodbyes to Tom and Donald and drives away, unaware that Murph storms out of the house, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, but arriving too late. The space shuttlecraft accelerates rapidly, propelling Cooper, Amelia Brand, Dr. Doyle, Dr. Romilly, and the TARS and Case robots into space. They approach the ring-shaped Endurance and successfully dock with it, finding all the necessary provisions for their journey through space. The Endurance departs from Earth, bidding farewell to the spinning planet, and the crew settles into plastic-covered water cryosleep beds for the 2-year voyage to Saturn. Dr. Brand takes Cooper's old 2010 Dodge Ram truck back to the homestead to return the vehicle and deliver a recorded message from Cooper to his family. Donald informs Dr. Brand about Murph's defiance, but Brand suggests that she may eventually prove him wrong. 2 years pass. The Endurance orbits Saturn, and Cooper awakens from cryosleep, watching video messages from his family. His son, Tom, reassures him that he is doing fine, while Donald sends his greetings, mentioning that Murph still refuses to communicate with him. The Endurance crew encounters the wormhole, resembling a plasma globe, which will facilitate their journey to the 3 planets in the neighboring galaxy. The crew prepares for a rough ride as they pass through the wormhole. During the passage, Amelia reaches out and senses the touch of someone's hand. They find themselves in a distant region of space, approximately 10 billion light-years away from Earth. Their first destination is Miller's planet, although they plan to stay only briefly due to its close proximity to Gargantua, which causes severe gravitational time dilation. Cooper, Amelia, Doyle, and the robot Case decide to take the risk and conduct a quick survey, intending to be in and out within minutes. Meanwhile, Romilly remains on the Endurance to study the black hole and gather quantum data from it. Upon landing, they discover only shallow water and the wreckage of Miller's ship. The crew spots what they initially believe to be mountains in the distance, but they turn out to be enormous tsunami waves. Brand becomes trapped under the wreckage and requires rescue, carried back by Case. Doyle drowns, and the ship is flooded, delaying their departure by an hour, which translates to years lost due to time dilation. Cooper feels frustrated with Brand but forgives her for her mistake. After clearing the engines of water, Cooper manages to narrowly escape the approaching tidal wave and lifts off from the planet's surface. Cooper and Brand return to the Endurance to find a visibly aged Romilly. 23 Earth years have passed, and it is now approximately the year 2090. They are devastated by this revelation, but Brand finds solace in knowing her father is still alive and well. Cooper watches the recorded videos and becomes overwhelmed when he sees years' worth of footage, including his 17-year-old son, Tom, showing a picture of the girl he believes is right for him. In the subsequent video, an older Tom, played by Casey Affleck, introduces Cooper to his grandson, Jesse. Shortly afterward, a live recording from Murph, now played by Jessica Chastain, is received. After 25 years of silence, a stubborn and saddened Murph confronts her father for not fulfilling the possibility of returning, as she is now 35 years old, the same age Cooper was when he left Earth. This revelation deeply wounds Cooper, as he feels he has betrayed her profoundly and has no means to communicate back with her. On Earth, Murph stops recording the video. She is now working alongside Dr. Brand and resides in the NASA bunker. Dr. Brand, now around 90 years old and confined to a wheelchair, continues her efforts to solve the incomplete gravity equation to initiate Plan A. Murph returns to the old Cooper homestead accompanied by her brother Tom, who works as a farmer. Murph joins Tom, his wife Lois, and their son Coop for dinner. During the meal, Murph discovers that Coop has a persistent cough. Murph is keenly aware that the increasing nitrogen levels in the air are negatively impacting their son's health. A day or two later, Dr. Brand is in critical condition. He confesses to her that Plan A is not feasible and that he had deceived her. Dr. Brand passes away, and Murph records a video message to inform Amelia of her father's death, pleading with her to reveal the truth behind the sham. Several months later, the Endurance crew arrives at Man's planet. The planet is perpetually cold, covered in glaciers, and possesses a poisonous atmosphere filled with methane and ice clouds. Dr. Mann, who has been in cryosleep for over 35 years, is awakened by Cooper. He shares details about the frigid yet stunning world he inhabits, mentioning its 80% gravity compared to Earth and the possibility of a habitable lower region that might contain fresh water. Upon seeing the video message from Murph about her father's demise and the revelation of Plan A's deceit, Brand is utterly shocked, having been unaware of the truth. However, Man reassures her that the gravity equation was proven impossible long ago. On Earth, Murph and her boyfriend, Dr. Getty, a fellow NASA physicist, drive through the desolate plains in her Jeep. Murph firmly believes that the solvable equation lies within a black hole and that Dr. Brand only provided a partial solution. She senses a subconscious connection between the coordinates of dust on her bedroom floor, the books falling from the shelf, and the Morse code message urging Cooper to stay. Meanwhile, Man shows Cooper the inhospitable and icy world they are on. Dr. Man removes Cooper's voice beacon, pushes him off a cliff, and reveals his plan to use Cooper's spaceship to return to Earth. This revelation angers Tom, who strikes Dr. Getty in the face when he suggests they cannot stay and will die. Murph confronts Tom, asserting that her father never intended to save them but rather escape. Tom adamantly refuses and insists on fulfilling his promise to their father by taking care of the farm. Man tries to kill Cooper by breaking his helmet's visor, exposing him to the deadly ammonia-rich air. Cooper manages to locate his voice beacon, which Man had taken, and calls out to Brand for rescue. Murph and Dr. Getty head back to NASA, but Murph, consumed by anger, stops and sets fire to the corn crops in an attempt to distract Tom and return to the farmhouse. Brand successfully rescues Cooper, while Man's living quarters explode, resulting in Romilly's death. Cooper and Brand retrieve TARS from the wreckage and depart the planet. On Earth, Tom's family has vacated the house, and Murph finds herself in her old bedroom, attempting to make sense of the past. Cooper and Brand prepare to leave the planet, but Man, in another shuttle, ignores their pleas to refrain from docking with the Endurance. Despite Cooper and Brand's warnings, Dr. Man persists in his attempt to dock with the Endurance. He manually positions the ship for docking, disregarding the computer's warnings of an imperfect lock. In the middle of a sentence, the coupling releases, resulting in a violent expulsion of air into space that carries Man with it. Cooper informs Brand that he intends to dock with the out-of-control ship, despite its rapid rotation. Cooper manages to successfully dock. To have any chance of survival, they must head towards Edmund's planet, requiring a slingshot maneuver around the black hole Gargantua, with manual controls. During the treacherous orbit around Gargantua, Cooper and TARS detach their shuttles and are pulled into the black hole, sacrificing themselves to gather data on the singularity. As Cooper's shuttle plunges into the black hole, encountering pellet-like objects that pelt his ranger. Inside the black hole, Cooper finds himself descending towards a grid filled with cubbyholes, uncertain of his surroundings. It resembles a tesseract, and he collides with an object among others, resembling stacked books. One of the books falls, revealing a young Murph reacting to an object falling from her bookshelf back at the farmhouse. Cooper desperately calls out to Murph, but she doesn't hear him and walks away with the model. He observes another part of the grid where Murph implores her father not to leave. Cooper watches, using Morse code by knocking the books off the shelf, begging himself not to go and to stay. Overwhelmed with regret, he realizes that he should have listened and avoided the mission. Later, an adult Murph appears in the bedroom, and she comprehends that her father was the ghost communicating with her all along. Everything now falls into place for her, and she is no longer angry. She holds on to hope, but continues to unravel the meaning behind her father's signals. TARS snaps Cooper out of his state of grief and reveals that he was sent by fifth-dimensional beings to communicate with Murph. He is overjoyed to see TARS with him and understands that the mission was not a mistake. Cooper sends the coordinates from the farmhouse to NASA through TARS and transmits the black hole data via Morse code to a wristwatch he had given Murph, which contains the gravity equation. Adult Murph discovers the old wristwatch in a box of her keepsakes and realizes its significance upon seeing the second hand with Morse code. Murph returns to the NASA bunker and completes the equation using the data from the wristwatch. She meticulously writes it down and discards the papers from the deck of the under-construction centrifuge, signifying that the equation has been solved. Inside the black hole, the Tesseract begins to close, and Cooper is convinced that everything has worked out. He finds himself near the Endurance as it passed through the wormhole and makes physical contact with Brand's hand. Soon after, he loses consciousness and awakens in an unfamiliar hospital bed. Cooper is overjoyed to learn that Planet has indeed succeeded and that the gravity equation has been solved. Cooper is discharged from his hospital room and accompanied by a tour guide who shows him around the station. They eventually arrive at a museum exhibit, a meticulously restored version of his old farmhouse. Cooper discovers a damaged TARS in the farmhouse, recovered by the Rangers, and promptly repairs him. Later, Cooper sits on the front porch of the nighttime farmhouse, sharing a drink with TARS, reminiscent of the times he used to do so with Donald. Cooper is about to visit the hospital room where an elderly Murph, now portrayed by Ellen Burstyn, spends her final days. A nurse informs Cooper that Murph's family is inside the room. Cooper was unaware of her family's existence but proceeds to cautiously enter the room, finding over a dozen people gathered around Murph's bed. However, Cooper's main focus is seeing his daughter. He assures her that he was indeed the ghost who communicated with her in her room, and she had known this for years, even though nobody believed her. Cooper promises to be there for her now. However, Murph, still spirited and stubborn, insists that she doesn't want him to witness her passing, as her children are present to support her. Cooper slowly leaves her room, realizing that the space station is not where he truly belongs, and decides to seek out Amelia Brand, who has landed on Edmund's planet to initiate the process of colonization. But Amelia continues her efforts to establish a settlement and prepares for cryosleep. Driven by his obsession and fascination with the new generation Ranger ships, Cooper steals one and embarks on a mission with TARS through the wormhole to locate Amelia and surpass the achievements of the Rangers. The destination, Edmund's planet, resembles a desolate Mars, but its breathable air provides the best chance for humanity's survival outside the confines of the space stations.